Hey everyone, it's just me today. I thought I would give a little off-the-cuff update on some of the things I'm working on, but more importantly, I wanted to give an exhortation to people to speak up and to be more vocal and to increase their platform. We have so many good things that we're thinking about as atheists, so many good things that we're working through, so many things that are on our hearts. Those of us who are involved with the research side of it, who are trying to keep up with the amazing work done by all the research, the PhDs, the different groups doing archaeology, historical research, trying to figure out what happened historically to start Christianity. And within all that mix, within all the questions that we have, there is, I think, a really big tendency on our part to lose sight of the vision. Part of that is because we've been so duped as to what the vision should be by our past and our desire to fight against how bad the past was in terms of our being lied to and tricked and not given the right information, enough information. But at the same time, I think we just don't have enough direction. And sometimes I think it's important for us to pull ourselves back from all the conversations, from the many different discussions and research that we're all doing, and to try to just think about where this needs to go. We are not here to get all the answers. I know that we're all digging in. We're digging into things like Josephus, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Essenes, Qumran, Nag Hammadi. We're digging into Israel only. We're digging into preterism. We're digging into mythicism. We're digging into the Book of Enoch. We're digging into Midrash and all the other subjects that I could go on and on about. Good subjects. I dive into them every day, and I won't stop that. It's a great focus because it helps us to understand where Christianity came from. But in the midst of that, I remind myself pretty much every day that the goal is not to understand where religion came from or how it evolved. That is only the means to an end. The goal is life. The goal is to embrace the beauty of life. The goal is to make a difference. And so I wanted to use today very briefly to encourage you and exhort you, if you have left Christianity, if you have escaped, if you have found your way through all the muck and mire of that whole scenario, you found your way out, whether you've been out for a week or you've been out for 10 years or longer. I want to encourage you to please find a way to speak up about it. I don't mean to speak up about it in a mean way or to speak up about it as if you're the only voice. We all need to be respectful of each other's voices, but we need more people in this narrative. We need more people speaking to the narrative of religion versus no religion. We need more people embracing the idea of they need a platform and they will take it and they will use it to help people to get out of Christianity. I know there's a lot of people that can't do that yet. I've talked to people like that. I get emails from people like that every week where they say, I would love to come on your show, Harmonic Atheist, and talk, tell my story. Now's not the time. I'm not comfortable. It would hurt family. It would cost me my job, blah, blah, blah. It's just so many different reasons that people give, and they're very, very real, and they're very, very painful. Some of those situations are incredibly difficult to think through, and I feel for you. I feel for you a lot. And there's things I can't say. There's places I can't go with my channel because of my constraints in my life. But for as much as you can do, and as much as you're ready to talk about it, and when the time is right, please consider speaking up and having a platform. You don't have to be the kind of person that's mastered a subject, such as you've studied all of the things you can about Josephus, or you know so much about the Book of Enoch, or you know so much about astrotheology. You don't have to be a master of those things. Just tell your story and talk to people who are telling their stories. Talk about the pain, talk about the confusion, talk about the lack of empathy, talk about the ostracization, the vilification that occurs, and talk about what you're doing to create a healthy environment for yourself and for people to get out. When those of us who were in Christianity were in it, it was very real. It was unbelievably real to us. It was our life, it was our love, it was our everything. And so we understand the people that are still in it. We understand the pain that they're going through when they see people like us who have left. We understand their confusion. And we understand how, as much as they're the ones that to us are doing the triggering and creating incredible harm and psychological damage, especially to children, we understand that to them, atheists are also somewhat triggering because it feels to them like we've abandoned their God. We understand where they're coming from. At the same time, we don't understand because we have thought through the issues and we're now on the other side of the fence. And for many of us, we have invited and asked the other people in our lives to please step away from the mythology. Christianity is mythology. And for many people, they won't even start that conversation for real. They may listen a little bit, but they're not really listening. They're not really in the conversation. They're just trying to find ways to avoid it or to find some way to make it seem like they're in the conversation, if only to get it back to the gospel. We know what they're doing. We know what their motivation is. We know what their hope is. And we know what is behind the whole thing. There's this book called the Bible and the church, and the background of having people submit their wills, submit their hearts and minds to the lordship of Christ, to his salvation, to the cross, to the blood of Christ that saves us, that creates propitiation and redemption, creates adoption of us as his children, gives us a hope of glory that someday we will see Christ and be like him. We understand where they're coming from. But that background of knowing where they're coming from is incredibly powerful. How amazing is it that we know everything that they could throw at us? Every argument, every discussion, every piece of philosophical reasoning and apologetics, we've heard it all. We've preached a lot of it. We know what they're going to say. And we have unraveled this whole Gordian knot. We have unraveled it, and we have woken up. And we've woken up, as they say, to find that the whole world is still asleep. We are awake. And we have an obligation, in my mind, in my opinion, to help other people to wake up. And if they won't wake up, that's their prerogative, that's their choice, it's their lives, they can live it how they want to. But we have an obligation to protect children in the next generation. If people want to throw their lives away from mythology, that's really sad, but it's on them. But if people want to inflict that on children, I have a problem. I have a big problem, and I will fight aggressively to change the narrative, to make sure that kids especially have a choice. They get all the information, and they know where this crazy mythological religion called Christianity is coming from. So my encouragement to you today is to speak up. Find a way when the time is right, whether you want to come on my channel, I'm sure there's 100 others, create your own channel, find some way, do a podcast, write a blog, but find some way to speak up. This is not the time to be on the sidelines. This is the time to change our world. We are on the change management team. We're going to change the world. And the way we do it is by getting in the narrative, not dominating it by any stretch, but we do put as much as we can into the narrative of our world, of our culture, and say, this mythology is wrong. Expose what's wrong about it. Tell them you have a book full of genocide, misogyny, land theft, slavery, child brides, human trafficking, genital mutilation, blood magic, on the list goes. That's what your book is about. Your book is about a gospel, ultimately, in the Christian perspective, that is about human sacrifice, about scapegoating, again, about blood magic at the core of it all, and about these magical ideas that somehow you're going to go to God, this Yahweh character, and you're going to be with him forever through the blood of Christ. If they could see what we see, they would say, what ridiculousness, what a story. It's an interesting saga if you want to chalk it up to like an old Greek myth, but reality? That has nothing to do with reality. That is absurdity to the nth degree. But we've escaped. We know what is going on here. We know how this happens. The majority of how this happens is through children. Get them when they're young. That's what they want to do. They want to get the children. And it gets hard. It gets really hard when people get their whole childhood in this indoctrination, and then eventually they become adults and they start to get more information from people like you or me. They find out where this religion came from. They find out church history, real church history, not just the glossed over stuff. They find out what really happened. And as they get into this stuff, they need help. They, number one, need the information. They need it clearly. So I encourage you, and I'm working on this myself, be more and more professional and clear with your work. If your video has your camera angled where you're looking up your nose, that's looking up your nose, fix it. If your video is in the dark where no one can see your eyes, fix it. I'm working on professionalism, and with more time and money, I'll be hopefully upping my game exponentially. Up your game with technology. Learn how to use Photoshop. Learn how to use After Effects and all the other programs. Learn whatever you need to learn, but find a way to start speaking. And if all you can do is get on a Zoom call, get on a Zoom call. When the time is right, when you have the bravery and the availability in terms of your situation to do it, speak up. My dream is to have 100,000 atheist channels where people are saying, you're not alone. We are a community. We are a community of people who love reality and who love humanity, who love our planet, who love science and learning, and who want to be able to give the children of the next generation the ability to look up at the stars at night and to embrace the beauty of the constellations and the moon and the beauty of our planet, and to not have that afterthought of, wow, this God who picks one nation and is so tribal, and if you love him, he'll love you back, but if you don't love him, he's going to burn you in hell forever. To get that out of your mind and just think, what a glorious world we live in. This is so cool. This is not from some deity, especially not from the biblical one. We have absolutely everything we need, especially in these days with the internet. We have everything we need to raise our voices louder and louder. I also want to encourage a balance in terms of arguing against the other side. I believe it was Richard Dawkins who talked once about how he doesn't debate too much with creationists, and the question was asked, why don't you? Wouldn't that be a great choice to try to bring that discussion forward? And he said, if I'm remembering correctly, that you wouldn't argue with someone who wanted to talk about the stork theory of reproduction. If you want to talk about how babies are made, you're going to talk about the science behind it. And if someone wants to argue that babies are created because storks bring them, the absurdity of that is beyond the point of argumentation. We're not going to argue it. We're just going to walk away and say, you're not at a point where you're ready to talk to this conversation. So I want to encourage you to not create platforms where all you do is argue. Christians are not of a mindset to think rationally. We need to embrace that reality. They cannot think rationally. They cannot. And there's also the whole effect of the emotions. They get this pleasure from knowing that their invisible God, their pretend God, loves them. Just like a little child would say, hey, Daddy, do you like my picture? Oh, it's sweetie, it's beautiful. I love it. It warms their heart. But when they pray and go to church and read their Bible, it warms their heart because their daddy up in heaven is saying, good job. There's a chemical reaction in their head that makes them feel good. They are addicted to religion. They can't think through this. Just like you wouldn't ask someone who is addicted to a drug to do certain things. They need to get off the drug first before they can work through other issues. Christians are not ready to talk about these things in large part. So what I want to encourage people to do is to start speaking as if Christianity was on its way out, because it is. Speak less about, or don't only speak about why Christianity is wrong. That's an important first step. I do it, other people do it, they do a great job of it. And it's important. People need that. It helped me escape. But the more that we begin to push our platform, to push our voice, the more we're going to realize that what's necessary is to start ignoring Christianity. Start to fill the void. We're trying to kill these horrible ideas in our own minds, and we're trying to help other people to see how bad these ideas were. But we need to replace it with reality, with life, with science, with beauty, with real grace, not grace of some psychopathic deity, but real grace, real love, real kindness, real loving kindness, real compassion. Not something based on, here, I'll give you a free meal, but let me preach the gospel to you first. Real love. We have the chance to change our world. And I don't think personally that it's going to happen because we out-argue the Christians. I think it's going to happen because we change the narrative so much that they just get lost in it. They get lost and they realize the wave, the tsunami of rationality, the tsunami of the end of mythology as a worldview is coming, and it's going to hit. And they're going to realize, hopefully some of them, this is really strange that I'm still in this. What is this? I think for some of them, if you were to replace what they believe with something else that seems strange to them, like Jack of the Beanstalk. If you said, I really believe in a God who's got a book that includes Jack and the Beanstalk, they would laugh at you and say, that doesn't make sense. Even other religions, if you're not a Mormon and you look at Mormonism, you might look at that and say, those golden plates, that whole story, Moroni, that's so ridiculous. They don't even need too much evidence. They just know it just doesn't sound right. It sounds made up. But yet when they turn their eyes back at their own faith, it sounds so real. Well, if we can create the narrative so clearly, so professionally, so thoroughly, so ubiquitously, that this narrative that they have been talking about is absolutely ridiculous, beyond ridiculous. I think personally that the stronger we do that, the longer we do that, we will eventually make a point, and some of them will say, yeah, this is ridiculous. I believe in talking snakes and talking donkeys. I believe that the sun stood still for a day. I believe incredibly horrible things about genocide and land theft and racist and tribalistic stuff. We'll expose them to the truth throughout it. The truth about Yahweh and El and Asherah will help them understand the archaeology of their own religion. We understand their religion and their Bible better than they do, and they know it. And that's why they want oversimplified answers, and we won't go there. We'll give them the complexity and the details that is necessary for an educated response to this religion. We'll go into the depths of Second Temple Judaism, of Josephus, of the mystery cults, of Enoch, of all of it. We'll give them details, and the more that they realize where this came from, and the details of what they actually believe, they will sit back in horror. Hopefully, some of them will sit back in horror and say, what in the world have I been thinking? What have I been believing? What did my parents and friends do to me? This is ridiculous. And the goal, again, is not just to get there. The goal is to replace it. We don't just want to, as they say, scream at the darkness. We want to light a candle. We want to start to dive into humanism. We want to start to dive into embracing life, helping people understand how to look at politics, how to look at poverty, how to look at racism, how to look at all these issues that are facing our world that are critical, and so many others. And say, let's look at them with fresh eyes. Let's look at them with reality for the first time. And I think people will be shocked to realize that things that they would have said before, I would never agree to this or that. I could never see it this way or that way. But when religion falls like scales from their eyes, and they wake up and they say, oh my goodness, so many things that I thought were one way were not that way at all. And they're now open to looking at reality, to looking at science. I know that so many of us have passionate hobbies of what we study. I have friends that study astrotheology like crazy. I do too. I have friends that study mimicists and the Homeric epics and how they impacted the New Testament. I do too. I have friends that study the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Essenes, Qumran. I do too. It keeps me up at night, and it's a good thing. But please, let's not, in the midst of doing those good things that we should continue to do, let's not lose sight of the goal. The goal is not to just figure out how to define where Christianity came from, although that's a good side goal. It's not to figure out if astrotheology was 5% of the story or it was 95% of the story of how the Bible was created. That's an important side note. This is about life. And if you get everything else right about where Christianity came from and then you die, you still haven't lived. Yes, you escaped religion. Good for you. But you spent the rest of your time focused on religion. Our goal is to replace religion with good things, with healthy things. Our goal is to help people to realize that they have been psychologically manipulated and abused. They've been threatened. They've been given a passive-aggressive, narcissistic ostracization that says basically, if you don't agree like us, you're going to burn in hell. And if you don't be one of us, you don't be a Christian, you don't believe our worldview and our doctrine, basically your life is as good as over. I have family members that have told me recently that they want to die because I am an atheist. They want to die because basically they know I'm going to burn in hell. And they feel so bad that they can't pull me out. It's mythology, people. There is no hell. You're not going to burn. You are on the losing side of reality. This is false. This is make-believe. It's time to wake up. It's time to live your life for the first time. Please, please, please come to the table. The time for us who have escaped to raise our voices respectfully, but bravely and without any apology has come. Please don't get sidetracked into bizarre side stuff about forces and crystals and ages and where we are with the astrotheological constructs. We are not trying to replace our old religion with some kind of new religion. We are trying to say religion has had its day and it is over. It's over. We did not descend from a god. We did not come from the angels. We rose from the apes. We came out of an incredible history, and we have evolved to a point where we are who we are today, and yet we also threaten our own existence. And religion isn't helping, it's hurting a lot. It's time for us to speak up. It's time to have an atheist president. It's time to have an atheist government. It's time to have people who are humanists, who say, we are not one nation under God. We are one nation of people who are humanists, who love each other, who will not allow racism to continue, who will not allow poverty to continue, who will not allow children locked up in cages anymore. We will speak up and we will stop this narrative by making our voices so loud that they can't ignore it. Some of this will just happen because those of us in the old generation will die off. But let's give the next generation a narrative that makes sense. Let's give them a narrative that is strong and clear and powerful and effective and is not mythological. Give them a platform where they can embrace the nuance and the numinous and the beautiful things of life without the baggage. You don't need religion. You don't need theism to have a magical sense of life. Life is beautiful. This universe is amazing. And it has nothing to do with the deity. Nothing. We need to give our next generation something better than we got. When I was a kid, I remember thinking, observing that past generations would sometimes struggle with certain things, and that the next generation had the chance and the opportunity to make it better. For example, grandparents who grew up in the Great Depression. They were extremely stingy, extremely careful with their money in a good sense, but they knew that things could go bad, and so they saved every penny. They didn't really enjoy life that much because of it. It affected them negatively. The next generation had the chance to hopefully see that differently. We would look at things like, as a Christian, generational sins, and you'd say this past generation has a generational sin, whether it's divorce or pornography or alcoholism, whatever it was. The next generation has a chance to make it right and to break these generational sins. We know that there is no such thing as sin, and so there's no such thing as generational sin. There aren't spirits wandering around us, like Frank Peretti would have us believe, that are trying to get in our brains and help us to walk away from God and do it Satan's way. But the idea still carries. We have a chance to take what was mistaken about our past, mistaken about our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents, and say maybe they did the best that they could, maybe they didn't, but maybe they did. Either way, give them the benefit of the doubt. It's time to move on. It is time to move on, guys. Religion is over. There is no God. You are an absolutely amazing creature, and you didn't get here by Yahweh or any other God. It's time to take what's happened, which was not purposeful, which was not by some grand design of some infinite, all-knowing creature who loves to cut off the end of little boys' penises. We're not coming from that background anymore. What happened, happened. We got here by evolution. We got here by amazing processes that were not guided. But whatever happened, and as we learn more about how it happened, I'm so excited to hear more about that, about astronomy, about evolution, all these things that we're learning more about every day. But as we learn where we came from, our goal is to leave this planet better than we found it. Why? Just because I choose to. There's no God telling me and compelling me to do that. I don't have to do it. I can go sit in a corner and play Nintendo all day and say, screw everybody. My life is about me. I just want to do what I want to do. No, I have the power. I choose to love people, not because I'm threatened by God or because I want some reward to be able to sing and play my harp in heaven. I choose to love because I choose to love. And I choose to make this planet better because I choose to. Guys, there are Christians that can't wait till this universe explodes and dies out because they think that the next universe is coming. They think that God's going to remake the heavens and the earth. They have no idea where those books even come from that they're quoting. They want our universe to end so that the next one can start. It's not going to work the way they think it's going to work, and we know it. We need our voices to be stronger. Please be part of the change management team when you can, however you can, without risking things that are personally of value to you. But when the time is right, speak up. Reach out to me, reach out to other people, get involved, get educated, do as professional a job as you can, more and more, increase the quality. Let's get 100,000 atheists out there whose platforms are thriving, who are getting so many subscribers, so many hits, that it's just ridiculous. Let's get our voices in this narrative. We constantly hear people in the news, politics this, economics that, racism this, all these voices, so many people speaking about God, even people that agree with our politics sometimes are doing it because of God. God has nothing to do with any of this. There is no God. I highly encourage you, if you can, find a way to get ready. Take the time you need. Don't speak early. Speak when you're ready. But speak. And when you do speak in an amazing way, you will speak with authority and not like the Christians. You will speak with authority and not like the Christians, because their authority is the Bible, which is mythology. It's an interesting book. It's an amazing book in some ways, but it's mythology. It's a saga. It's legends. It's old, ancient writings that are pretty cool, but they're not real. It's not reality. We will speak with authority because we have so much at our disposal: science, history, archaeology. Get educated, get those good things in your treasure chest, learn about all these things we talk about. If you need help understanding where to go to get some of these resources, contact me. I will be glad to give you what I can. But start somewhere. Don't just say Christianity was bullshit, so I'm done now. I'm out. I don't care anymore. Christianity called us to be selfless. It said, be willing to die for Christ, be willing to lay your life down for others. Greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. How about we redeem of all the bad stuff in the Bible? How about we take some of the good stuff that might be there in seed form, that's so distorted and twisted and warped, and take it and redeem it ourselves and say, I will do what I can to stop being selfish. I will do what I can to increase my platform because I love the children. I want to give my children and other children and the next generations something beautiful. And I'll tell you what, if it's religion, it is ugly as it comes. We will make this world better. We will be stronger. We won't live to see the day that religion dies out, and that is sad. But religion is dying. People are leaving the churches in droves. We have a chance to strike when the iron's hot. People are sick of what happened politically in the last 4 years, where the Christians supporting a madman. We're sick of the mega church mentality of we need a $20 billion church while people starve on the streets. People see this stuff and they see through it and they say, that's garbage. They hear people preaching, if you don't believe like us, you're going to burn in hell. And they say, that's garbage. They see their friends who aren't like them, who have a different sexuality, and they see Christians saying, you all are so bad, bad, bad. And they say, you know what, that friend of mine that you're speaking poorly about is great. They're awesome. Their sexuality is different than yours, but they're awesome. We have a chance. People are disillusioned everywhere at the Christian message, and we are not against the Christians. We're against the Bible prison. We love the people. We love the people in church. We love the family that's still stuck in this stuff. We love the people. Our issue is with the Bible prison. It's with the mentality that this mythology is reality, with fundamentalist Christianity that says Yahweh is real, he has a son named Jesus, and blood magic is the only way to get saved. That is garbage through and through. And if there were a hell, I would say that stuff is from the pit of it. Christians have no idea where all that stuff even came from. They have no idea. I went to Bible college, memorized entire books of the Bible, thousands upon thousands of verses. I never heard once anything that told me the reality of where this Bible came from. Not once. It's garbage, and they don't even have a clue. And they don't want a clue, a lot of them. They don't want to know. Please, if you can, get ready. Take your time, but get ready. Rev it up. Don't sit on the sidelines. Be as gracious as you can in the process, as patient and as tender with the people that are sensitive. But also don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of little backlash. Don't be afraid of people speaking up. Don't get involved in some of it. Walk away. You don't need to answer everybody on Facebook or YouTube that says you're an idiot, that quotes, oh, the fool has said in his heart there's no God. You don't need to answer everybody that backlashes against you. Just speak and drown out the Bible prison voices, the Bible narrative. Drown it out. We're going to sing louder than they are. We're going to sing louder than they are. And eventually these people will realize that their song is pretty ugly. It's pretty nasty. It's very, 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 very mean against a huge section of humanity. And the elect few who are on God's good side, those people will realize that they have a terrible taste in their mouth. What in the world have I been in? Let's get it done. Let's make this happen. Please, please take this seriously. We are not here as a hobby. We are not here because we really, 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 really want to talk about the Testimonium Flavinium. We're not here because we really, really, really love to talk about Nag Hammadi. We're not here because we know that Jesus walking on water was an astrotheological symbol. We know that stuff and it's important, but that's not what this is about. Let's get our priorities straight. We're here about life, about people. Life is short. I might not be here in an hour. I might not be here tomorrow. Life is short. Love your babies. Hug them tight. Get back to reality and replace the darkness with light. Light a candle. If it's dim for now, that's fine. Keep it dim. Keep it small. In time, you will add fuel to the fire and you will burn like a bonfire in a blaze. And people will say, you have something I don't have. I was a Christian for 43 years. I had more peace in the first week of escaping the Bible prison than I did in 43 years. People will see you're different. They will see that you know their Bible better than they do. I've read my Bible more in the last year than I have ever. I know my Bible through and through, and I'm going to know it even better soon. They will see a difference. They will see our passion and our drive. And to end this out, focus on the kids. Focus on the kids. This is about protecting little minds. This is about the psychological damage. You tell a kid, hey, sweetie, look at that statue up there. Look at that picture on the wall in church. That man up there with his crown of thorns and the blood dripping down over his body and his body lacerated from the whipping. His hands and his feet with the nails pierced through and his side pierced through where the blood and water flowed. That man is there because you were a sinner and you did this. And if you were the only creature that had ever been created and you'd sinned, God would have had to do this and he would have done it for you because he loves you. The sickness and distortedness and the mind game, the guilt trip, the psychological abuse that is to a child is off the charts. We, if for no other reason, will fight with every fiber of our being in this philosophical game. We will fight for the children. Our children are worth it. Christianity is false. It is mythology. And the children need a better life. Children need a different worldview. It is make-believe. It's fake believe. It's not for them. It's not for the next generation. Let's end it. End it as much as we can. Speak up. Speak loudly. Speak clearly. Speak proudly. And when you do it, go back to what you did, figure out what you did wrong, and do it better the next day. Get our message better and clearer every day until people can't ignore the platform anymore. Be prepared as well when the time comes for your platform to increase. Nobody knows who I am. My platform is very small. The day may come when my platform is larger. It may come when it's much larger. I hope it does. But some of you may have that experience and it may blow your minds. You may have a platform that goes from 0 to 60 in a month or a year. And all of a sudden you're in politics or you're in some way up in stage and everyone has a chance to hear you. Be prepared for if your platform exponentially increases, have your message ready. Religion is over. Mythology as a worldview is over. Children deserve a better life, and they deserve all the facts. I know that was a lot. I know a lot of you probably come to my channel more for the quiet conversations that I have with people. I will occasionally expose the passion in my heart because this is so real to me. This is so critical to me. And I know some of you feel that way too, and you just need a place to start to talk about it and to increase your power. You're powerful. You're more powerful than you know. You have the ability to change huge conversations. You are like that fulcrum. You can leverage this and exponentially change the dynamics. You can turn the tide. Please consider what you can do. Please consider studying hard, preparing hard, and then speaking well. Get to work and get positive. We're not here to bash everybody. We're not here to just say these things are wrong. They are wrong. But let's get positive. Let's talk about what we can replace it with. Let's say we have something amazing, something awesome that if religion had never happened, it's what we would have anyway. But we got sidetracked. Let's get back to it. We have this amazing thing that happened that caused us to be who we are, to be conscious, to be extremely aware of ourselves, of our environment, and of things like time and space and our future. We have something about us that is different now. We came from the animals, but we're not just animals anymore. There's something different about us. It's an amazing thing that's happened. It was not here, did not happen because of some master plan, but it happened anyway. Let's use it to our advantage. Let's be positive and say, this thing that happened, it's amazing. There was no rhyme or reason to why it had to happen. It happened. Let's use it now. We are here where we are without anybody pushing the buttons. But we now have a chance to push a few buttons ourselves. So push the ones you can. Let's make humanity the best thing that ever happened to this planet. Let's make humanity the best thing that ever happened to this planet. And let's do it by getting rid of these mythologies. Give your children something better, please. Thank you for listening. Please come back to my channel for the regular interviews. I do have a lot backed up. I'm busy at the moment with work and other things that have kept me from being able to work on the videos. But I do have a lot more to share, a lot more coming soon, and some amazing interviews coming up in the next month or two. Please stay tuned for what's coming. We got some amazing people speaking their stories and powerfully speaking. Maybe it's your turn to speak up too. Thank you.